Hello, good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Hi, Jen. Happy Monday. How about we say that?
I wish it were morning because I need to have a whole next 7 or 8 hours here to get everything I want done.
I could too. And I think that's one of the things we want to talk about today on HR Huddle. Maybe we start there. I don't know. And the other thing we wanted to talk about, bigger picture, that's probably more micro. Macro, we've been reading some latest publications from Josh Burson. If you're not subscribing to him or following him, we highly recommend you do so. His company was acquired by Deloitte, and he is a leader in everything HR trends, benchmarking about people. And he had a recent article out about the Great Resignation is really the Great Migration. And we had a few takeaways from it that we thought we would share with you to pay attention to related to people. And I think one of them is, this idea of, people are moving around. So they are, not only just, leaving companies at a clip of, I think it was 3.4% a month, Jen. Like that's what the turnover has been. And so you add that up for a year, it's quite substantial. And,
Yeah, like 36 to 40%.
right. Right. So we need to be paying attention to people, recruiting, resources. And so I think that's one of the things, for us to kind of delve into. So anything else about the report itself you want to say, big picture, Jen?
Well, I mean, just that, like all I've been doing, maybe all year, but certainly the second half of this year, is talking to people about talent and the Great Resignation or the Big Quit. We've talked to you, our HR Huddle friends, and participants and followers. We've been talking to you about it, but every conference, every presentation we're invited to do, all of the retreat facilitation, when we're with young leaders, seniors want to talk about the impact of turnover and the impact of their employer. Managers want to talk about it and how to help retain staff and associates and seniors. And, it's just like we can't escape this conversation. It is pervasive. And it's not just inside our profession. It's, like the women I run with, we're talking about it and it's affecting their companies. And so I think the big picture is the state of our country, and maybe to some degree the global state, is that employers are struggling because employees feel mobile. The great mobility of employees, and a little bit. I was reading an article this weekend about like the new union, and a little bit unionizing. Employees are getting that this is an employee market. Most, if not all, professions are facing an employee market, from the local quick shop type, entities to hospitals trying to employ doctors and nurses, to airlines struggling to find enough pilots to fly their routes. I mean, it's everywhere we turn. So I loved Josh Burson's article about this because he had some tough truths from research-based tough truths. One is that turnover statistic, which Tamara gave, of 3.4% per month, and that we should be expecting that that's not just a pandemic thing. A lot of us are like, oh, the big quit or the Great Resignation, that's a pandemic thing, and it will go away when the virus is reduced or whatever. And the truth is, it's not at all a pandemic thing. It's a demographic thing, probably. Baby boomers are sunsetting at a clip of 10,000 a day. Next gen talent are sorely needed to replace the lost knowledge and jobs that are happening and the capacity that's lost. And so employees have their choice. And we at Convergence have been talking, writing about that coming. We've been like, I feel a little bit like Chicken Little or something. Like we've been, generational impacts and demographics are going to affect us. Get ready. We've been saying it and saying it and saying it. Well, it's here, man. our oldest millennials are middle aged, they're 40. We are faced with, with real demographic impact. And Burson says, hey, get used to it. Here's what's going to happen. Employees are moving from level 1 and level 2 companies, as he defines it. He's got a great 4-level HR model, which we can delve into in a second, a little bit. And he says they're moving from. You can be an employer that you get moved from, or you can be a destination employer where you get moved to, where people say, I'm leaving this level 1 or 2 employer because the grass is greener in a place that values talent at a different level, that invests in talent in different ways. So I think this is probably one of the most crucial conversations we could have as an HR community right now, is how critical it's going to be to become a destination employer.
Well, and I think that is, such a good point. The link is out there. I just showed it, but it's out there in the chat if you want to link to the article that we're talking about. And, it's really stopping to assess how are we doing as an employer, and that 4-step model that he has, where we're just looking at the basics. And we've been talking about this too, is, what is the health and safety? We had to protect health and safety 21 months ago. Everybody was forced to make sure everybody was safe and healthy. We went remote. We did whatever we needed to do in our office for those that were in the offices. My husband is in, food logistics and outsourced warehousing. And he's experiencing all of this too. By the way, he had an employee call him yesterday and said, I haven't been able to have a day off for 6 months because we don't have the people. This gentleman was, just feeling burnt. And so they were trying to strategize, how could we, get that covered? And it's a 24-hour shift. It is impacting everybody. And we have to get beyond those, basics of, safety and health and well-being, and, look at how do we have, opportunities, for growth and for collaboration, and employees are seen as part of the solution. That there's more opportunity and equity, and, more holistically. We've also talked about mental health, and we've been talking about, making sure that, we are participating in planning and direction and vision, and our next gen leaders really want to participate in all of those things. So that's, a way, one way to analyze, how are we doing as an organization, to say, where are we on that spectrum? And it could be as a firm, and it could be by department a little bit. So, I might look at it both ways, for sure, as a firm, and say, how are we doing? And don't just take the leader's word for it. I would maybe ask some people, if you guys have an employee focus group or a next gen group, I would have them say, where do you think we fall on the 4-point scale, is the way he defines it, and find out. So.
Yeah. I mean, the Burson research shows that very few of us ask our team members. We try to solve problems for them without their input. So we define the problem ourselves as leaders, and then we define the solutions ourselves, and then we wonder why, they feel like we're missing the mark or something. So one of his pieces of advice of a healthy organization is one that is actively listening, actively seeking, really asking their people for help in both identifying things that could be better and also generating the solutions to those things. Which I was reminded of this again today. Tamara, I was with our good friend Ed Guttenplan today from Wilkin Guttenplan, and he was sharing strategies for success at their firm, and they have a great firm, and they're definitely in Burson's model, a level 3 or 4 organization. They're healthy and well invested in talent and talent management and the well-being of their team, their clients, and their organization. And he was telling a story about how they started to take their challenges that they wanted to solve for back to this advisory board that was staff, next gen staff, and they would say, well, here's the challenge, and we want you to tell us how to solve it. Mm-hmm. And that he was amazed by how quickly people could move from problem to solution, mm-hmm. the next gen, and how functional and fast it was, how nimble they became, because the staff themselves were creating the solutions. You don't have to sit in the ivory tower and say, okay, here's our solution. Now, how do we make the staff buy in? We don't have to have all this hard change management conversation, because the staff, they they can help us generate it. Now, it doesn't mean they'll always generate exactly what will work for us, because they may be missing pieces of the financial aspects or whatever. Hopefully, though, we'll empower them with that data over time, so they're not missing anything. Run it flat, run it transparently. But anyway, I loved the revelation that he had, to where, sometimes as leaders, I think we think, well, I got to shoulder all the problems and generate all the solutions, and then try to drive all the buy-in. And that's the old model, and it doesn't work very well. And it's not, the hearing, the listening of that model is poor.
Yeah. Well, and that creates part of the, feeling of they don't get it. And so when we get the input and then we have them solve it, they're the ones generating the solution. We all learned, I referenced 21 months ago, we all learned we can make decisions really quickly and act really quickly. We could get remote really quickly. We made it work. There were things that might have taken months or years, because we need to, go through all these studies and try it and evaluate and talk to everybody else, instead of, let's just do it. Let's just try something. And that's probably one of the biggest messages is, let's just do something. Let's try something. And your next gen is willing to try things. They also have, some space, for it not being perfect. And we'll work on that. We'll make adjustments as we go. So they're not attached to that either. And when it's their own, they're going to be problem solving. So empowering them, I think, is huge. And that listening and communication and, having people participate in, where we're headed, and then also the side of, if we're going to have 36% turnover, and we should just plan on that, and it's not pandemic related, we need to have the resources to be able to do these things. And so I think that's the other thing that we've been talking about. I was facilitating a retreat last week, and, we were talking about, we need, learning, both onboard learning, structured learning by level, so that we can get people up to speed faster. And so that they feel like they have a learning plan and growth plan and know what it is. But then also just all the learning that we need to, we're faced with, because of the continual change that we have. And then we need to be recruiting, and we need to have continuous recruiting. So somebody, at least one person dedicated to recruiting, almost any size firm. I know maybe not the real small ones, but gosh, if you have 50 people, 75, you're approaching 100 people, you have to have a dedicated recruiter.
50.
And so,
no, not 75.
50. That's where I started. 50 at 50.
But I mean, max.
Yeah. So you need a recruiter and an HR person. I mean, you need somebody, whose name is in that box and owns those things. And so we would say we really have to assess, what do we have for an HR function, and what do we need to be adding, and plan for it. Hopefully, you get it in the budget. You're all probably doing budgeting right now. It needs to get approved in the budget, but outline what those roles are and what those expectations are for your HR function, so we can progress some of these initiatives. And so your people feel like, we're being focused on, that talent is important, that, these initiatives that we keep talking about, we're going to put resources behind them. So I think it's really important.
Well, so Tamara, I've been saying that, like firms that don't have a talent first mindset, Simon Sinek posted something in, and I don't know if it came from his book or whatever, but it was a LinkedIn post, and it just said something like, I'm going to paraphrase, if your talent love working at your place, clients will love working with you too. And we have long at Convergence had a talent first mindset. We've been trying to get firms to do it. When we first wrote about it, my partner Jack wrote about it. He wrote, which is more important, talent or client, and then he, went on to say talent first, and got a little hate mail. People thinking, what do you do? Don't you get what business we're in? We're in the client service business, young man, or whatever. He was being schooled by traditionalists who thought he was out of his mind. But if your talent feel cared for and fed, and they are growing, and they are learning, and they are passionate about the mission, and they feel empowered to solve problems, and they are innovating, then they are going to generate the best possible client service. And clients will be attracted to us because we will be empowered innovators. And that's who clients need. They've got challenges and they need support and assistance from great advisors and providers who are already used to being empowered and used to innovating and generating solutions and piloting things and failing forward and trying new things. And so if we're doing that inside the firm, our clients will be the beneficiaries. And if we don't have talent as a first priority, then we're going to end up, in this upside down capacity problem where we're apologizing a lot. And clients are not experiencing awesome service. Instead, they're experiencing just the bare minimum of service that we might have to offer, which is not going to cause that kind of word of mouth that we're used to. And so, I mean, it's talent first all the way. And Tamara, where you just were on HR resources, I've started almost, I feel a little bit almost jokey or something about this when I say it, but I say if you have no HR person, you need one. Go hire one. I don't care what size you are. And okay, if you're a one-person shop, maybe it's an outsourced HR person, but I want it to be a consultant or strategist, not just a PEO managing insurance benefits. I mean, you need a talent strategist. And if you have one HR person, you need two more. And I know that sounds nuts and scary. I would rather have you be overinvested in HR and end up having to cut someplace else right now than for us to underinvest in this area.
Right.
And we can have all the great ideas in the world. We can hand solutions to the staff to generate and get great feedback and mark out, 2 or 3 key things we're going to change in 2022. But if nobody's there to, implement and also keep us unified and on track and consistent and on message, then we're not going to have success. And the client service providers, ones that are out there, helping those clients today, they can't sort of do HR. We
Right.
can't sort of do talent on the side. They can support it, don't get me wrong, and they can participate and they can do check-in meetings and they can help develop our staff and bring them along for experiential learning. But they can't be the architect of this. And I used an analogy, Tamara. I want to try it on you. I don't know if it worked with the group I used it with today, so I'm going to have you test it. But I said, because they were kind of like, well, if all the partners are focused on this, then we don't really need an HR person driving it. And I was like, well, the HR person's sort of like the trainer at the front of a class, an exercise class. If you don't have that person, then we don't have a core structure for what we're working on and what order and how we're going to use these different pieces of equipment and things. And you have kind of a mayhem and also a little bit competitive, like, wait a minute, I got to get over there for that equipment and that sort of stuff. You don't have a well orchestrated class and you don't have consistent effort by everyone. There's no accountability, there's no oversight. And so, if that person's erased from the room and we're all just working out, you might be working out really hard and I'm over there like drinking a slushie or a smoothie or something and not working out at all and nobody cares, and so when
we're also running into each other.
Yeah.
Because it's not orchestrated. Like if I'm doing Zumba or something, like we're not doing the same thing. We're smacking each other literally, or like you said, over in the corner doing nothing.
Yeah.
And why anything's not getting
or
done.
hoarding, like I'm hoarding the smaller weights because I don't want to get stuck with the big heavy ones and not be able to do the exercise or whatever. So I mean, it's like that. And without talent leadership in the business, and not just executors but also strategists, without it isn't well orchestrated and there isn't consistent application across different service lines and industry groups and offices, and you just have to have it. And so anyway, I think that you can't get to this level 3 or 4 without that investment. And we really do have a decision to make. Are we going to go ahead and allow ourselves to be the supplier of talent to other organizations? Or are we going to be the destination where everybody is anxious to come to work? And we have some firms like that, Tamara. You and I know who they are. They're destination employers. People want to go there. And firms right now are unfortunately doing a bunch of stuff that's causing those destination employers to have a lot of success in recruiting. almost to their detriment. They're almost having to say, wait a minute, how many more should we hire before we're overdoing it? Because every firm that goes back and says, well, I think we're going to mandate that you return to the office after January, 10th or whatever. Every one of those, that's a destination. That's a level 1 or 2 employer, not a destination employer. Every one of those that does that causes a few more people to pop their resumes on the street, looking for that better place to work where they will be well fed.
Yep. And, I just want to echo, as we wrap up here, that your next gen wants to solve this, and they need the time and the capacity to be able to do so. And so we do need that, that trainer or that orchestra conductor or whatever, analogy you want to use, that is coordinating it and paying attention to it and facilitating it. So that we can get the work done and we can focus on the people, we can get people to progress, and we can do great things for clients that light people up, that make a difference. It is amazing. And so as you're planning your year end, one of the things, and I know there's a lot of things on our plates right now, but make sure that we are identifying what kind of resources and what are our priorities as we're coming into 2022, so we can be super intentional about it, and we can make sure that we have the people to progress it. And then you can find your subject matter experts, your next gen groups, your tax professionals, whoever it is, to support getting it done. But we need you as the HR people to say, hey, this is what we need to be focusing on, and then here's the plan to have it happen. That will make you a level 4 firm, and we would love to see more level 4 firms in 2022. So we're excited about it.
For sure.
So we will be together next week before we close for the holidays and take some much needed rest and enjoy some holidays with our family and friends. But we will be together next Monday for our last HR Huddle of 2021. So we hope that you join us. I can't believe I'm saying that. And in the meantime, have a great week, a productive week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Bye.